good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today, look, I told you the other day that Tera EXs are done. We have had our last Tera Pokémon EX. They are gone. Journey Together still has EXs in, but there's no Tera EXs. Tera EXs are gone. So I thought, well, hang on a second. If we've had all the Tera EXs we're ever going to have, feels like we can make a top 10 list now, doesn't it? The only caveat I have for you here, and this is an important caveat, do bear in mind that even though there's no new ones coming, the metagame will change. So I feel fairly good about this list today, but give it like 5 minutes, give it another set and all of that, things absolutely could change, and some of these could get better or worse depending on what comes out in the future and how the metagame changes. Sound like a plan? Excellent. And I'll be honest with you, when I first made my list, there were 8 Pokemon on it. I had to get 9 and 10, and in at number 10, I'm putting Flareon. But I want you all to know that there were 8 that made the list, and then when I finished writing down my list, I was like, oh, that's only 8. I was going to do a top 10, so the last 2 here are on a bit of shaky ground. And essentially, where I'm going with Flareon is a lot of faith. If the evolutions are going to be good, Flareon is going to have to be good. And there is enough here to make me excited about it. Burning Charge for 2 energy does 130. Search your deck for 2 basic energy and attaches them to one of your Pokemon. But we've got things running around like Sparkling Crystal that can turn this into a single energy attack. We've got things like the Eevee, which lets you evolve the turn you play it, or even on turn 1 of the entire game. Things like Glass Trumpet that can accelerate energy to said Eevee. I'm not saying this is a great card now, but I'm saying when I look at what the others have done and the potential this has got for the future, I do feel like this does deserve to be there ahead of it. I could well be wrong about this. In at number 9, Wellspring Mask Ogerpon. And actually, spare a thought here for Half-Flame Mask Ogerpon, because it's the only one of them that isn't making the list. I'm sorry, I'm trying to be honest here, and I have actually seen that in a couple of decks here and there, but it's not proven to be good enough. Wellspring Mask Ogerpon, I think, just about has. Because what we've got here is the attack Torrential Pump. Water, 2 colorless energy, 100 damage, and you can shuffle 3 energy from this Pokemon into your deck, and if you do, it does 120 damage to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon. And this is just generally good in decks like Baxcalibur, where you can accelerate a whole bunch of water energy. But people figured out a little while ago that you could use Sparkling Crystal and double Turbo Energy to use this turn 1 going second. And yeah, sure, you do get the minus 20 reduction from double Turbo Energy, and I should mention that, well, hasn't yet, has in Japan, it will soon rotate over here. But the fact that it ever did that was still kind of cool, and the fact that it's good in any deck that can accelerate water energy, which water decks do tend to do, is also pretty good. So this is the other one that I wasn't 100% sure whether to put on, but I think it's just about earned its spot. But now we get to the 8 that I did put on the list initially, and in at number 8, we've got Greninja. I like Greninja EX. Greninja EX is a very good card. Firstly, it's a fighting type that uses water energy, so you're hitting a very, very good weakness, which is lovely. But it's also just the attacks here are brilliant. Single energy, 170 damage, search your deck for any card. Any card at all. We've also got free energy, discard 2, 120 to 2 of your opponent's Pokemon, which is quite nice. But 310 HP, hitting a good weakness, 170, which doubled with weakness for 1 hit KO anything this week, while searching any card? Yeah. We saw a brief period where this plus Palkia actually did see a bunch of playing success over in Europe. I don't think it ever really made its way outside of Europe, but certainly in Europe was a good deck. And with a type of the HP and everything else, this is a very good card. In at number 7, we've got ourselves Pikachu EX. And I'll be honest with you, Tera Pokémon as a whole, I think slightly disappointing, because I don't really think Pikachu should be in at number 7. Although it is a very good card of a lot of potential. Because the ability Resolute Heart stops it being one-hit KO'd. If it would be KO'd from full HP, it goes down to 10. And then free energy, 300, and discard free energy from this Pokemon. Now, some decks have literally just used it as a basic Pokemon to activate Area 0 Underdeaths, or Knockdown, or cards like that, because you need a Tera Pokémon on board to play those cards. And this one can't be one-hit KO'd, so honestly, it's really good for that. If you want just a random basic Tera Pokémon to activate those cards, because of the ability, Pikachu is the best. But then we've seen decks like Lost Zone decks with Mirage Gate, which can actually pay for this. And then you're doing 300 damage, not getting one-hit KO'd, and then potentially doing 300 damage again. That's not bad, ladies and gentlemen. That's not bad. It's hard to accelerate the energy, and I do worry that Pikachu a lot of the time is just going to be, hey, it's a Tera Pokemon that doesn't get one-hit KO'd. But I'm telling you right now, there is at least a lot of potential here, and this is something that I'm a little bit excited about. Coming in at number 6, we've got Cornerstone Mask Ogerpon. And look, I don't want Cornerstone Mask Ogerpon to be up at number 6. I'm not a big fan of Cornerstone Mask Ogerpon, despite loving fighting cards, because it's really here for the ability Cornerstone Stance, which prevents all damage from attacks done to this Pokemon by your opponent's Pokemon that have an ability. So against decks like Charizard, for instance, where all their main attackers tend to have abilities, yeah, this is a particularly good card. It's not a fun card. It's not a card anyone enjoys playing against. It's not really a card I think many people enjoy playing. Let me know in the comment section if you're one of them. But realistically here, this has seen a bunch of play. And moving into post-rotation, from everything we're seeing in Japan, we'll continue to see a whole bunch of play. And you add that all up together and it comes in at number 6. In at number 5, a much more fun card, Ceruledge. Now, I'm putting Ceruledge in at number 5, but I do think you could switch these around. 4 and 5, I really think you could switch, but Ceruledge has largely been better in Japan, so when they play best of 1 and all of that. So for that reason, I'm tentatively leaving Ceruledge in at number 5. And this is a card that I like very, very much indeed. Because what Ceruledge has got is Abyssal Flame, single energy, 30 damage, plus 20 more for each energy card in your discard pile. So you start building up energy in the discard, and this Pokemon just gets better and better and hits harder and harder as the game goes along. It just increases in power as the game goes. And this ends up being a very, very powerful Pokemon by the end of the game. Better in Japan than it's been in the West, but that attack can get big quickly. It's a stage 1 with 270 HP. It's one that I think is only going to get better in the future. In at number 4, just vaulting over it, is Terapagos. I don't know how I feel about Terapagos. Because on the one hand, it's clearly a good card. I put it in at number 4. On the other hand, I've had a lot of people pretending like it's the best card and the best deck in the format since it came out. And it just hasn't proven to be. Unified Beatdown does 30 damage for each of your bench Pokemon, but you can't use it turn 1 going second. Which is weird because there's other Pokemon around like Raging Bolt that can do just as much or more damage turn 1 going second, and they are allowed to do that. Seems wildly inconsistent to me. But the theory here is that you use Area 0 Underdepths, you can have 8 bench Pokemon, you do 240 for just 2 energy. And then you've got stuff like Glass Trumpet to accelerate energy to it. You've got stuff like Knockdown to go and search out any cards you might need. The fact that we're losing Double Turbo is actually super annoying because it's going to make this harder to use. But the fact remains, it's done pretty well. It's had some good results. It's a basic Pokemon that hits good damage and has a whole bunch of support. You add it all up there, and that makes sense. But I think we draw a line above Terapagos. I think 9 and 10 are in their own tier. 4 to 8 are in their own tier. But I think there are 3 Tera Pokemon which are massively above all the others we've talked about. And in at number 3, I'm putting Dragapult. Dragapult is phenomenal. Firstly, it's a dragon Pokemon, which means no weakness. So you're sitting there, and admittedly it's a stage 2, right? but you've got 320 HP and no weakness. And then for 2 energy, you do 200 to the active, and you can drop 6 damage counters on the bench in any way you like. And now that we've got Sparkling Crystal, this is essentially a single energy attack, at least once during the game. And then you've got Drakloak, which has got that draw ability, which makes it even more consistent. And this is just brilliant. We've seen it played with Charizard, which incidentally is why I couldn't put it above Charizard. I don't think I could have anyway, but I definitely couldn't now. And we've seen it played more recently with Iron Thorns, for instance, which is another very good card. Seriously, go back and look at the EXs that came around in Twilight Masquerade. That set was kind of busted. And it's just an all-around great card. Great stats, great attack. It's done a bunch of winning. It's only going to do more in the future. It remains a great deck post-rotation. In at number 2, we've got Charizard. Charizard is... A lot of people recently have this idea of Charizard as a great Pokemon in the trading card game. Because obviously, we had, for instance, Radiant Charizard that was phenomenal. We've got this, which is phenomenal. Actually, for the majority of my time playing the Pokemon trading card game, Charizard has been trash. Not right now, ladies and gentlemen. This Charizard's amazing. Because when you evolve up into it, you get the ability that accelerates free fire energy from your deck, which, accelerating from the deck, just for evolving up into it, is absolutely absurd. That's a ridiculous ability. And then the attack Burning Darkness for only 2 energy does 130 plus 30 more for each prize card your opponent has taken. So the more prize cards they take, the more powerful you get. And then, of course, we've got stuff like the Dustoir line, which self-KOs to put damage down, but then also boosts up the damage Charizard is doing. Yeah. Charizard has been, like, the best deck or near enough for the entire time it's been legal. It will remain great post-rotation. Charizard is phenomenal. So why am I not putting it at number 1? Teal Mask Ogerpon. Teal Mask Ogerpon's the best Tera Pokémon we've seen. The attack Myriad Leaf Shower is fine. Free energy, 30 plus 30 more for each energy attached to both active. But it's the ability Teal Dance which is so good here. Once during your turn, you can attach a basic grass from your hand to this Pokemon, and if you did, draw a card. Well, in Raging Bolt decks, that just puts a bunch of energy on the board that you can then discard with Bellowing Thunder and do a huge amount of damage, while also drawing cards. And then Regidrago. Regidrago, an energy switch, has become, for large portions of the last metagame, the very best deck. It's arguable that pre-rotation, or at least pre-Badoo, this has been the best deck in the format for a while. And Teal Mask Ogerpon has absolutely been an essential component in Raging Bolt decks and in Regidrago decks, which have both been, among the very, very, very best decks in the game. And because of that, I've got to give number 1 to Teal Mask Ogerpon. These cards are going to be around for a while yet. And although we're not getting any new ones, remember what I said at the beginning of the video. It could well be that this all changes. Teal Mask Ogerpon could have seen its absolute highlight moment, and both the decks where it helps could drop out or find other ways of getting the energy. Well, Regidrago is rotating, but there's already an argument that Raging Bolt is just way better with Bellibolt anyway. So maybe... Actually, we've already, as soon as we hit rotation, maybe we've already gotten to the point where Teal Mask Ogerpon's just not that useful anymore. Maybe there's one I'm not mentioning here, which just comes out of nowhere and becomes the best deck. We don't know. And I think that's pretty gosh darn exciting. But now I want to hear from you guys. What do you disagree with on this list? What do you agree with? Which should be higher? Which should be lower? Remember, you can't just say this should be higher. You need to tell me what you would drop to make room. And if you want to give me your own top 10 list, well, I would just be delighted. So let me know in the comment section, would ya? Goodness! Be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi. That's where we talk about Pokemon and a whole bunch of other card games. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts, and all kinds of fun things. And get shoutouts on the channel like the lovely Kanto Royalty, who's been a supporter of ours for a long time now and is a very lovely person. So shout out to them for the support and the loveliness. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.